we are going to do a quick recap on the year 2025, everything we talked about this year. So I'm not going to really pull out my notes. I'm just going to pull from memory and share the big points that comes through, because every single quarter this year, we discussed a different element to help prepare you for the years to come. Let's start with quarter one. So in quarter one, we talked about the fire element. And the reason was because 2025 was ruled by a Mars planet, okay? Mars is ruled by the sign of Aries. Mars plus Aries is wholeheartedly fire energy. And so even though 2025 was the year of the wood snake or the snake, I'm not sure if the exact element was wood. I'm pretty sure it was, though. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that general energy was about shedding, was about solidifying and understanding sort of where you're at in your life's journey so far, regardless of age. This will probably resonate with people who are seeing this a little bit older in their journey. Maybe the algorithm will bring you to me for a reason, but it was about building that foundation and understanding who is part of that foundation and who needs to go. And so wood, I want you to think of it, the literal definition, wood, foundation, okay? Not everyone was able to build a foundation this year, but there was an understanding of the foundation that maybe you needed to start to build, or you need to build in the future months and years to come. But snake, what do snakes do? As a reptile, they shed their skin. So it's very symbolic of releasing, cleansing. So think of it like A, the most obvious thing being a Mars ruled year, B, ruled by a fire sign. Fire tends to be destructive for the most part. It brings warmth, but it can be destructive. So it's basically burning away the things that no longer resonates anymore. And that's what that snake energy is mirroring. So in Q1, we started the year off with the fire conversation because this was a year ruled by fire energy. And even though 2026 is legitimately connected to the fire horse, it's still kind of echoing in a different way. What we said in the last video, the channeling that came through from the angels was, particularly Archangel Samuel, Uriel, and Ariel, was that 2025 was a precursor, a prelude in terms of the world stage events to 2026. All of the revelations that are going to come up. Going back to Q1 here, we talked about fire element, we talked about fire energy, we talked about the ashes, okay, what it does. But fire just doesn't also cause destruction, right? It might have caused a collective destruction of the facade of the illusion, which was perfect for us to start 2025 with. Now we're going to really see things for what they are, how people are showing up with actions, not with the feelings that we feel, right? And so understanding that vulnerability is important, which we'll tap into Q4. We also talked about the importance of fire through warmth, how it's used in ancient cultures and civilizations, through cooking, through survival. We talked about the fire energy in itself being very much about passion, about taking action, about being bold and taking risks. Then we pivoted onto the earth element for Q2. And in Q2, when we talked about the earth element, we talked about how it is connected to this 3D world that we're in. It is the world that we are existing in, that we're able to survive on from a physical aspect. Metaphorically, through energy, we talked about its grounding aspects, the signs it's connected to, of course, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. Then we pivoted into air element, the air energy for Q3, where we talked about this kind of flow and openness energy, but how air is helping people to connect. It is the air that we breathe. Air creates change. It's all about movement. So when you think about air astrology signs like Libra, Gemini especially, and Aquarius, it's all about movement, okay? Anyone who has Gemini in their big three or in their chart will have certain activations around movement, blessings around making changes in your life and actually evolving in that way. So think of air as movement. It doesn't want you to stay stuck. In times when you need to be grounded, go out and get some fresh air. In times when you need to let go of things or ignite passion in your life, tapping into that fire element, allow yourself to breathe, okay? And all of these elements that we've talked about so far, up to Q3 at this point, is in connection with one another. There's something called fire breathing, for example. This just came through right now, where it's a form of meditation, of breath work. They call it fire breathing because you're inhaling in a very specific way, but it's connected to the air element. So there you have tapping into fire element, into the air element, into grounding, into the earth element there. All three elements sort of coincide with the creation of earth through warmth, structure, protection, and breath being life. Then we move on to Q4. And Q4, we just kind of did a recap on the last video, so I'll briefly touch on this, was about water energy, wrapping the year up with the understanding that People will betray you. Things will happen that really freaking suck, but you still have to be open to receiving, especially if you are someone who is consciously trying to work on yourself, heal yourself, ask yourself the tough questions, and move on in your life and evolve. Water element is a reminder that we must be open to being vulnerable, at least with ourselves, okay? If you can't be real and vulnerable with yourself and raw, how are things going to work out for you in your life? How would people ever trust you? If you want trust from others, you have to be willing to open your heart up, to be open to receiving better and more, to knowing and feeling this energy, and to allowing, after doing that unconditionally, things to flow into your life organically based on the respective time that they need to. So water element is all about not abandoning our vulnerability, and it's something that we're going to need in this coming year when a lot of emotions might become very passionate for a lot of people, things really erupting in people's lives this coming year, not in a negative way, but to facilitate the necessary growth and evolution and change. It could be physical world related, it could be mentally related. I think for a lot of people in 2026, it's going to be more mentally related. If you've been doing a lot of the core sort of physical world work this past year, 2026 is going to be a lot more mental work around really taking risks and being confident in those risks, but allowing yourself to feel the feels through the process of changes, of loss, of grief. And so this is what's coming through as the recap for 2025, tapping into a different element, a different energy every month, and using those understandings and those teachings as skill sets and knowledge and resources for your future to come, knowing that you're alive and you're connected to all that is already. You don't need to do all these other fancy things, just knowing and having that awareness that you're already organically connected to all that is. But make sure that you integrate those lessons of knowing when to take risks, knowing when to lean back and be open to receiving, knowing when it's a season of rest, earth energy, okay, Q2, grounding, chilling out, versus knowing when it's a season of movement, air energy, right? So, it's very funny, when I kind of was closing up 2024, I asked my guides to provide a sort of channeling of how 2025's content and curriculum was going to be in terms of videos and things like that. I never expected it to be elements, and tying in the fifth element with spirit through our weekly intuition practices. My guides definitely came through with like the perfect order of how the elements should be structured, but this was just a recap on 2025. And for 2026, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to be posting more individual channeled videos on Instagram under Chicago Clairvoyant and TikTok, YAZYH. I'll leave those links down below, or you can click on my description if you're seeing this on YouTube, and posting longer content on YouTube. And then School of the Ascending is going to take a back seat in 2026, so that we can allow the algorithm to sort of recalibrate itself and bring in the right people into that container. And there will be more announcements for kind of the future of School of the Ascending. Obviously going to flow with the present moment and the guidance that I'm receiving, and of course the nature of my astrology and my North Node mission work here. But I am so grateful for every one of you who has tuned in. I've been posting videos for a long time. I haven't really had a huge growing in my community in the way that I've seen sort of other creators grow, but I know that that's for a reason. It's because there's a particular group of people that needs to find me at certain points in time, and I'm appreciative of that. And I know at the right moment that most of the videos will reach the right people, and I hope that it does. I'm trusting this sort of AI algorithm, and I'm gonna trust God and my creator, and allow things to just work as they need to, and just not care otherwise. Just continue to post the channelings as they come. So thank you for being here. Thank you for connecting with me either recently, this year, or over the years, if you've been around for a while, and any of my platforms. And I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you, because I mean, you're here and things are going to change in a different way. We say this every year in the spiritual community, but there's always a new level of change and transformation that comes through for the collective. So a lot more to come in 2026, but we shall see the spiritual cosmic tea that comes through. So I send you guys all so much love and light. Of course, as always, collective, go and grow, and we'll see you in 2026.